Hello, Gene Schwimmer here. Welcome to today's vlog. A couple of short items I want to share with everybody and then on to the main subject. The first one is, well, this is one of those situations again where it's a little unfortunate, at least for me personally, that I get this breaking news, but because I have to record these things the day before you see them, it's probably no longer breaking news. But the impeachment, I haven't really done an impeachment update lately because there really hasn't been anything to really talk about. Nancy Pelosi is just holding on to the articles of impeachment, and that's what I'm addressing today because it just came on the news a little while ago. Well, put up the headline here. McConnell will move ahead with impeachment trial rules without Democrats' support. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, says he has the votes to establish rules for a Senate impeachment trial of President Trump without support from Democrats. McConnell told reporters Tuesday that he has abandoned attempts to reach an agreement with Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, Democrat, New York, after weeks of public bickering over Democrats' demands to agree on a set of witnesses and rules for evidence in the trial. The decision to move ahead with the rules puts new pressure on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat, California, to release the House-passed articles of impeachment so that a trial may begin. The rules, according to McConnell, will be the same rules, or essentially the same rules, as the ones that applied during the Clinton impeachment, well, removal from office trial. The impeachment part was in the House, of course. Those rules, in case you'd forgotten or weren't aware, or, oh my God, were too young to know what those rules were, maybe born after the trial happened. Oh my God, am I that old? Those rules were that the House managers would make an opening statement, the White House would make an opening statement, and then the full Senate would vote on whether they wanted to call witnesses or not. What's different this time is that Chuck Schumer, who was one of the senators who voted unanimously, by the way, to have the opening statements and then decide whether to call witnesses, which were not called, by the way, in the Clinton trial. There were no witnesses. He is one of the senators now demanding witnesses for the Trump trial. Obviously, that ploy is not going to work. There is also another element which is not in this article, but another senator, Josh Hawley, he is proposing a resolution that gives the House 25 days from the date that the articles of impeachment were voted on in the House, which would make the deadline just a few days from now, January 13th, for Pelosi to send over the articles of impeachment, and if not, then there would be a vote simply to dismiss the case, similarly to what happens in an actual trial. It's called failure to prosecute. So if the prosecution dawdles, does not prosecute the case, the judge will simply dismiss the case for what's called lack of prosecution, because the defendant cannot just sit there forever waiting for a trial. That is a new development that I wanted to share with you. We'll see what happens. This news, as I'm reporting it now, it just occurred. Now on to the second item. This is just a short, it's not really a response. I got a comment from Lynn777, and as I've said in the past, I prefer not to debate a commenter because I have this vlog, I say my piece, and I leave it up to the commenters to say whatever they want, to agree or disagree. But there happens to be a linkage to another news item that came in earlier today. So let me read the comment. Well, I'll put it up here. I'll read part of the comment, just a relevant part. I think that President Trump just committed political suicide by eliminating Soleimani and sending thousands of troops into the Middle East. We are closer to war with Iran. Very peaceful people who hate war will not vote for him now. As I said, I would just let that stand, but There was an article this morning quoting, well, I'll just put up the headline. I'll link to the article, but I'm not going to read any quotes from it. But from Joe Lieberman, former vice presidential candidate. He ran with Al Gore. If you even are old enough to remember that. Okay, no more dwelling on how old I'm getting, even though my birthday is at the end of this month. And, well, think about that later. So here's the headline. Lieberman warns Dems criticizing Soleimani strike. Votes won't back, I think he means voters, votes won't back anyone, quote, who they don't think is willing to use American force, unquote. So two sides of the coin, two arguments. One side of the debate, the argument, the divide, the division, is that, as Lynn777 wrote, Trump has jeopardized his re-election chances by killing Soleimani and sending thousands of troops into Iraq. The other side from Joe Lieberman is that it is the Dems who are hurting themselves by not backing Trump. So you see, it's two different sides of an argument. Two people can look at things and come to different conclusions. Which side prevails, we'll find out in November. I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm not going to argue with anybody. As I said, everybody's entitled to his view. I just wanted to put that out there because this Lieberman article just happened to come out the same day as this comment. And, well, all of you, I don't want to answer a commenter, but all of you are free to if you want to debate the issue, and then I'll read the debate. Maybe I'll be enlightened, and who knows, maybe that will lead to new vlog. What I want to talk about today is there is this constant argument. Well, it comes mainly, I would call it a claim, I suppose, from our friends on the left, that whether you think it's right or not, again, whether you think he should have killed Soleimani or not, that he needed a declaration of war to do it. There is this constant debate, and it's been regarding past presidents too, especially George Bush, whenever it's a Republican, let's be pretty frank about that, that the Democrats argue, well, he needs, and libertarians too, to be fair, libertarians also make that argument, that he needs a declaration of war to use military force. So I thought it would be an interesting exercise to research past declarations of war. I'm going to put them up. I'm going to link to a page of past declarations of war to answer the question of when do you need a declaration of war? What is a declaration of war? Now, I didn't go all the way back to the War of 1812. I stuck to the modern era. I stuck with, well, really World War I and World War II. It's interesting that since World War II, we were in the Korean War, the Vietnam War. We had two, Desert Storm, Desert Shield, several wars. But the last time Congress declared war, officially declared war, was in World War II. I'm going to read you. Well, I'm not going to read all three. I have the one against Germany in 1917, and then we have against Germany and Japan in 1941. But let me just read, well, I'm not going to read, it starts out with these whereas we were attacked, whereas, just setting up the circumstances for declaring war. I just want to get to the operative paragraph at the end. And by the way, these are very short declarations if you want to read them for yourself. Taking the declaration against Germany, the joint resolution for Germany, the operative paragraph at the end reads that the President be, and he is hereby authorized and directed to take immediate steps not only to put the country in a thorough state of defense, but also to exert all of its power and employ all of its resources to carry on war against the Imperial German government and to bring the conflict to a successful termination. You'll notice I emphasize certain words. You also notice that if you, again, take the trouble to read the PDFs, that, well, you can tell they were in a hurry because there are some typos here. I said thorough state of defense, but also to exert. They had actually crossed that out and changed but to and, but then it doesn't really read right. So I restored the but. I think that's what they meant. But now we get to the real substance, because what is the difference between when do you need a declaration of war? What does it mean? Now remember that we fought pretty extensive wars in Korea and in Vietnam. What is the difference? The difference is that, as you can tell from that paragraph that I just read, that when you declare war, you are putting the entire country on a war footing, which is completely different from, well, certainly different from what we have today in Afghanistan and in both Gulf Wars, and I would even say Vietnam. And, well, my memory doesn't go back to Korea. That's when I was born, 1952, when the Korean War ended. That's when I was born, so I missed that part. I was relaxing inside my mom, I guess, so I missed that. But the difference is, well, remember, women first entering the workforce was in World War II. You can see films, documentaries, photos of women working in, say, airplane factories and on assembly lines. Why was that? That was because all the men, all the military-age men, were overseas. They had been sent overseas. You also would learn, if you did a little research, a little historical research, that there was rationing during World War II because certain materials, rubber and steel, they were needed for the war effort. So there was rationing of certain foodstuffs and certain raw materials in the United States because it was needed for the war effort. A lot of car factories were converted to produce tanks and airplanes. That's what FDR meant when he was referring to these factories as the quote-unquote arsenal of democracy. That's when you need a declaration of war, when you have to put the entire country on a war footing, when that is all the news, when it's not just part of the news, when it's not about partisan politics and one side saying we need a declaration of war and another side saying we don't need a declaration of war. You're in a situation when there is no doubt and the country is completely united. So that is the difference in my mind, that the president, to respond, well, Alan Dershowitz has opined on this, and Joe Lieberman, who I mentioned earlier, he was an attorney general of Connecticut. I mean, these are lawyers, they know their stuff, and Dershowitz said it was an easy call, that Trump had the legal power to do what he did, killing Soleimani. You don't need a declaration of war to kill an enemy combatant, especially one who has killed hundreds of Americans and was threatening to kill even more. So I hope that settles the issue. But again, if people disagree, that's what the comment section is for. And that's it for today. Thumbs up if you like this video. Share it with anybody you think would also like the video. Got any questions? Put them in the comment section below the video. You can also put in that same section suggestions for future topics. You can subscribe. I love getting subscribers. Subscribe. And finally, come back and see me again. I look forward to seeing all of you again. And until I do see all of you again, bye.